What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to Nintendo Open Air Podcast. Loot boxes. The mere mention makes gamers cringe. EA says they've learned a valuable lesson from the Battlefront II controversy, and yet at the same time, Nintendo seems to be just dipping their toes into the loot box game. The question posed, are loot boxes acceptable? Are loot boxes even legal? And is there an alternative for sustaining long-term games? In this year of DLC, this is certainly the question Nintendo fans need to be asking. We'll be digging into these questions and more later tonight, so stick around. As always, before we begin, let me introduce our panel. We've got with us, as always, Mo and Z, and Max is with us. And Barry is joining us again, so welcome back. 3 in a row.
Yeah, three-peat.
That's right. All right, so we got to start tonight with the topic that everyone is talking about once again, and of course that is Labo. I think we've got some Labo adopters here with us, so I'll let you guys break it down what you've built.
Not me.
No, not me either.
Yeah, I picked up the variety kit. We've put together one of the remote control cars and the house, and my kids are quite enjoying it, quite interested in both of those.
So
you said the house has got a lot of like little mini games and stuff like that too. That
yeah, basically, it's got the three plugs with a switch and a button, and then the other one you spin like a blender or something.
Is that the faucet one I showed in the commercial? Where you can,
the faucet's more the switch where you rotate it and it's got an elastic so it springs back. And then the button is the light switch, I think. And the one that you turn around and around like a crank does little mobile. And that's if you just use them individually, and they'll do things for the little critter in the house. But if you do combinations of them, and there's, again, a hole in the floor and one on the right and left walls, depending on which ones you put in and where you put them in, a bunch of little mini games come up. So there's a bowling mini game. There's one where you aim a cannon and then shoot it, depending how far you do the elastic switch and let it snap back. It'll have different strengths of shots. There's an aquarium one. There's a few others.
I should say, by the way, for everybody, in Canada, they don't have rubber bands. They have elastics. So,
yeah, either or.
Yeah.
Thank you for translating, Mo. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah. I just caught that myself. But yeah, so at least there's one rubber band or elastic that they use there.
Yeah, that was the only one in that set.
That was like one of my fears about Labo, was that those would dry out. And in fact, I was doing a little cleaning the other day, and I found a rubber band ball that I had made like years ago. And my mom came over and she's like, "Do you want to keep this?" And I'm like, "I made that years ago. It's probably all dried out now." And I like went and grabbed like one of them off of it, and it just snapped in half. I was like, "Yeah, it's all dried out." So, but I guess those are cheap enough to replace.
Yeah, I would guess so. But getting it into the workings of the thing could be interesting.
That's true.
Getting an exact right replacement, well, that won't be hard. Third parties will be making specific duplicates.
Well,
you can't.
And Nintendo Store, yeah, they have replacement.
Well, sure, but right, Nintendo, and that's true. Nintendo does have old parts for old consoles and old stuff. I don't know how long this is going to be up on the Nintendo Store.
This is also assuming that somebody in 10 or 20 years is going to want to still have their Labo house, but there's going to be some sort of collectors.
Yeah.
This will be one of those little weird things like the Virtual Boy and the Rob and stuff where people are like, "Remember when they did this cardboard thing?"
Yeah, I think you're right.
What an idea that was. Oh.
Yeah, and I think like we have yet to see any sort of indication of any kind of third party plastic creations, or you know what I mean? Like this really is
there's
feeling
been some 3D printed stuff I've seen pop up on Twitter. I think either Max or Jason or
the little stuff that people have put together and whatever, and fair enough, and maybe stuff that they're selling, but you know what I mean. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
bet you could make a balsa wood RC car.
Yeah, maybe. I just don't see this. I mean, I just to throw it out, yeah, I spent 15, 20 minutes building one of the cars and buzzing it around the kitchen. It's neat how it uses the camera. You can see on the screen it actually has it's like you can technically drive the little thing first person because it's got a little camera on it. It updates once a minute. It's an IR camera, so it's weird. Oh, I did mess around with the follow me thing.
With a little reflective tape.
Well, I didn't even do that. Like, all you got to do is just put something in front of it. It depends on the lighting and whatever. It's all about the infrared. The reflective tape probably works a lot better.
Yeah, the auto drive feature.
Yeah, but it's neat. It's it works. It's right for a kid to just kind of experiment around with all these random little ideas. It's workable. It's just functional enough to be like one of those old little science kits that I remember from when I was a kid that would have a bunch of little weird transistors in it and a couple little LED lights and a couple of this and that, right? And you
now 10% off at Toys R Us.
What Labo is?
No, those little science kits. They always had like a wall of science kits, and it's like when you see those old Milton Bradley games, like the box doesn't look like it's changed in a while.
Yeah, I think they're really going for that because I saw an ad where they brought in Bill Nye to talk about it. And if you go through the Discover section, they've got a lot of those little videos that talk about, how the Joy-Cons work and how the different builds work and what the Joy-Con is doing to read the different control mechanisms. So, there is some there that you could, especially for kids, they can learn from.
And neither of you have gotten really into the garage portion yet, right? To mess around with the Labo garage.
I would imagine like you could sit down and kind of do it from scratch, but I imagine it's probably a lot easier once you've built several of these things to kind of sit down that at that point
get ideas. I know. So I've seen some cool little things on Twitter, and Nintendo is running a contest right now. I don't remember what the prizes are, but
probably more
a water bottle or something.
Yeah, spare cardboard.
Platinum coins.
The price of cardboard on eBay is through the roof.
But I mean, as we've pointed out, like in our extended circle, like there's certain things that we all buy, and there's certain things that are up certain people's alleys, in particular. That that at least a few of us buy. But this is one of those ones like ARMS where it's like I picked it up, Barry picked it up.
No, Barry played the demo. He didn't buy it.
No. I'm sorry. I mean,
dumb. Oh, Labo. Okay.
Labo.
I was like, he's not that dumb.
Yeah. No. In the case of Labo, right? Barry and I picked it up. We know of, I think, one other person in our extended circle that jumped on it.
I think that's right.
And I can I don't, none of the guys I know picked it up. Everyone's kind of waiting and seeing. It's not. I will be shocked if there's a Joy-Con 3 and 4.
I have not heard of
pipe for Christmas.
I think that they are. I think they're already in the pipe. We still got to get that camera and the bird thing.
Yeah.
But I've not heard any reports of shortages anywhere.
And you guys have all been posting pictures in the group, in our little weekly group chat, like of your local store stock, and it looks like they've sold one or two, as far as we can tell, and the rest of the stack is still just sitting there. Sorry, Barry, I think you were jumping in.
Yeah, I think our store sold half or more of its stock so far, but it was initially advertised as for kids too, right? So that's sort of the demographic.
For kids and those who are young at heart.
And in which case, are they gearing this as like a summer project kind of thing? I guess that's with the timing of the launch.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Could be.
It seems like
the kids will do
summer
over the
vacation
summer
thing.
Yeah,
they're just gonna get it so huge that by the time school's back in session after the summer break, People
I
have to buy it for school.
I bet you Labo 3 and 4 will come out early summer, and then once the online launches, we will never hear about Labo again. That's my opinion, but we'll see.
I wonder if they'll still go through with it even if this doesn't do well. Because
They'll push it a little while.
They'll continue to put. Yeah, they
I
won't
think
just.
they'll push it, but I mean, I don't know that they'll continue to invest in more.
I think they'll put out at least a couple more kits.
Because if they probably
I think
are.
it would be really smart to just do it as like little individual free downloads and little individual card. I think they would make a lot more money if they just sold the RC car by itself. Like we would all buy an RC car for $10 or $15, wouldn't
Or
we?
one kit.
Oh yeah.
If it was just one thing in the kit, except for the giant.
Yeah.
And even with their competitions, if someone makes an interesting idea, publish the patterns or sell the patterns and let them do a little download for the code they need for it.
And
we should mention these all have individual carts for each.
Yeah, I was just
each Toy-Con rather.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that as well. It's give me a download for God's sakes. Like, come on. If I have the cartridge, I mean, I get they're probably trying to prevent third-party, cardboard producers or whatever. But it's like, right, if I already have the cartridge, odds are I bought the kit. Just let me download it so I don't have to swap the cartridge every time. Like, you know what I mean? I put the cartridge in for 20 minutes so I could build a little car. I took the cartridge out. Now, who knows when the hell I'll put
we talked about this a little bit earlier this week, and I was saying, even with counterfeiting, who cares? If you actually had the software and you had to pay, let's say, $40 or $50 for the software, it's not like they're making the money off of the cardboard, really. They're making it off of the software. The cardboard doesn't cost anything, so who cares where you get your cardboard? I would think they would just want to move software.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: is if you're not really making money off the software either. It doesn't really cost anything to produce the cartridge, right? Well, other than the switch tax.
Yeah,
but you're making the money back from the R&D. So that in this case, it's a weird hybrid thing where the cardboard still kind of qualifies as software because it's the print. You know what I mean? It's what's on the cardboard that matters. It's the same as like copyrighting a book.
Which I know Nintendo cares about counterfeiting no matter what. If it's
they're just paranoid about
they
it.
sued Blockbuster over photocopying their owner's manual back in the day. That was copyright infringement.
Here's the thing: one backup plan for them, if this sells as poorly as it appears to be, would be for them to suddenly drop the price, sell just a cardboard-only package, and you can just download the software. That was kind of how. Remember when they launched the Wii Fit U on the Wii U, and it was like it was the same. The two things that launched on the Wii U, and it was probably the same on other consoles for the Guitar Hero, but the Wii Fit U and Guitar Hero Live. Remember, both of those launched, and like the day they launched, they were like 60% off at Best Buy and just about everywhere. Were you guys? Did you guys?
I remember the Wii Fit U. There was a free digital download of the game if you
it was
registered a Fit meter.
Yeah. It was if you did it for the first 6 months and you bought, or first 3 months or something, you bought the Fit meter and synced it to the game. You could use the download version instead of the disc that came with the Wii Fit board, and that was kind of a gimme for people who already had the Wii Fit board and didn't want to have to go out and buy the game again and whatever. But it was also, it felt like they were giving stuff away because they already knew at that point that the Wii was hurting. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing with this, where I think they're going to see the writing on the wall, and I think they might start offering deals like that. But yeah, as a side note, you could get the Wii Fit board with the Wii Fit meter for like $30, whereas the Wii Fit meter itself retailed, what was it, for 20?
Yeah, about that, at least here.
Yeah,
and that was like basically at launch. Like, and I remember the Wii Fit U was like the most silent launch I'd ever seen for any product. Like, Nintendo just kind of dropped it off the back of a truck and never announced anything about it. I hunted for information and finally ended up at a Best Buy where literally, as far as I could tell, it was launch day or at least launch week. I wasn't exactly sure when the hell they came out, but it was like $30 and retailed for $69.99 or something. The whole
I
set
bought
with
it
the
on
board and
launch
everything
day,
else. Yeah,
having never had a Wii and never had the
the
Wii
Wii Fit.
Fit.
I never had
was
Wii
like,
Fit
let's-
either. Yeah.
I was like, let's try this thing out. Let's see how.
How much did you pay?
I think I paid $59.99. It was like $60,
It
or
was
maybe a
regular
little bit
retail?
cheaper. But
Yeah, that was one that
Yeah.
seemed like it was deeply discounted. Maybe I got it late. Maybe I
probably
didn't.
soon thereafter, it was deeply
Yeah, maybe it was.
discounted.
Maybe I got it a week or two late or something. But it was definitely within that within a week or two of it launching, and it was already very deeply discounted. And again,
The only-
I don't know that they'll do that with Labo, but I think by summertime we're going to see some discounts because I just don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's taken off.
The only thing I ever used was that Wii Fit meter. I figure I already had a 3DS in my pocket. I might as well carry that thing around too. And I still think they should do something. Like I say, get rid of the balance board, but they should do something with that. And you could do it with the Joy-Con using the IR. You could probably sync it that way. So be better
That's
than
true.
cardboard.
They'd need to update that thing. That Wii Fit meter was ancient technology when the Wii U came out. It had been the Pokewalker prior to that. It was the exact same piece of hardware. And prior to that, it was those Tamagotchi things from 20 years ago. So they would need...
Which is kind of what that Labo house reminds me of. It's kind of like an updated Tamagotchi a little bit.
The idea, yeah. But I mean, right, they would need to modernize that to some degree. And I see them dipping their toe back into that water, tentatively, if at all, that whole fitness thing. I think, you know what I mean? There's good and bad things that people associate with the Wii U, and I think they think people consider that a bad thing. That was the Wii U jumping the shark.
Some of it was so closely tied with some of the sports ideas, though, that I think they'll probably do a combination with the resort with some sort of fitness things with the motion controls.
Maybe, and I hope so, because here's the other thing is they dropped out Wii Sports. Remember the Wii U Sports Club? I don't think that... I'm pretty sure that did very poorly as well.
Yeah. They had like free weekends you could play, but didn't you have to buy... You could pay like one price for everything or buy the games individually.
Yeah, there was a very weird pricing structure. You could rent it for 48 hours for a couple bucks, or you could just buy it outright for $10 each game. And then they eventually just sold a disc for basically the cost of all 5 games.
And they were so awesome that they even had individual, like, by state here in the United States. Like, you could have, like, you could be part of the Illinois Bowling Club. Like,
yeah.
Can you imagine if you were in Wyoming trying to find someone else to play with in Wyoming who had a Wii U and bought bowling?
I noticed a lot of the highest ranking ones tended to be, very small territories and stuff up here in Canada. So.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Could have owned it if you lived in a less populated area.
But these kind of, it seems like Nintendo has steered clear, aside from Labo being the huge exception. It seems like Nintendo has steered clear of some of these things that they'd done in the past.
Quality of life type things is kind of what we're getting at, and that was kept getting drug up for a long time, but I think it's finally went away.
Well,
there's also like those Fitbits and stuff like that now that are better versions than Nintendo would ever put out.
Right. You can do it on your smartwatch, or you can do it on your smartphone, or like you say, there's all kinds of watch-like accessories.
And again, the accelerometers and all those kinds of things in there, like, Nintendo, they were early pioneers on a lot of that stuff. The modern phone technology.
Maybe if they teamed up with Vans and did a Nintendo Wii Fit shoe line that had the pedometer built into the sole of the shoe.
Now, see, that would be a modern Nintendo. That would be a smart modern Nintendo business move.
I know.
In the same way that they go from the clunky little Tykes Wii U controller to the sleek, modern, adult-looking Switch. They could do something. They could do something similar with the Wii Fit. But But again, you're right. It's not just the
Shumibo.
quality of life, but in general, these oddball side things, right? These oddball things that Nintendo's gotten into outside of their core Mario, Zelda, and that kind of stuff, right? The Wii Sports. I don't consider Wii Sports a core Nintendo title. I consider that one of those oddball things like Chibi Robo or Wario World, or you know what I mean? One of those kind of experiments that I don't necessarily think that they're going to keep making more of. So it worries me because I'd like more.
All right.
That one had a lot more success than most of those, so I think it's got a chance to come back.
Yeah, that's their
Yeah.
best-selling game of all time.
But at the same time, a lot of people look at it as kind of a flash in the pan, and it might be.
Oh yeah, totally.
But anyway, moving on, Jason.
That's right. Let's keep things rolling here, and we'll get to one of our favorite topics here on the podcast, and it is, of course, Splatoon. And just tonight, Splatoon 2 got the official 3.0 update. And we all
play tested it for you.
That's right. We tested it prior to the podcast, so we'd bring you fresh news. So let me just run through right quick what all this is bringing. Of course, it's bringing general bug fixes, buffs, nerfs to weapons is standard. And it brought us Camp Triggerfish as a new stage, some new weapons, but we're also getting some more interesting things. Some of the things promised for in more lines with the big update coming later this year. We got new gear, new music. Callie is back in single player. X rank is officially online, though I don't think any of us are X rank range.
Nope.
No.
And I thought this was a little interesting thing to add in, is they added more detail to the Splatfest results. I believe it's now going to go to the 100th place or something like that. I don't know what that's going to do. I guess maybe they're trying to get rid of this 49-51 thing that we've had going on forever.
I'd like to be able to just see, the number, even if they just put a little number underneath it, like popularity, just to get an idea. I mean, it might be sad towards the end of Splatoon 2's life, but just to see like what the participation is in a Splatfest. Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
How many millions of people are included in these things?
That would be interesting.
Nintendo errs on the side of less information rather than more. They'd
rather just show you winning by 48.12%.
Yeah.
But and much to Jason's dismay, he's got a lot more clothes to buy now.
Oh no, 100 pieces of gear. I've already got probably close to 10 pieces between what I was able to buy in the shop and order. So
you got full orders?
Yep.
The next 3 days are booked?
Next 3 days are already booked. And of course, I will probably get it, in the shop the same day that it's available for me to pick up.
That's usually how it works, yeah.
Yeah, that's the rule.
So hopefully someone is working on a list already. If someone knows of a list, hit me up with it. It's easier to check it off now than trying to go through the other.
Tweet at NOA Podcast.
Yeah.
The list of all the new clothing.
Yeah, if you found a list, I'd appreciate it.
Or Wikipedia might get it,
I think before, I don't know where I got it from. I don't think it was Wikipedia, but they're a great resource if you're a Splatooner. So I want to know, what do you guys think about Camp Triggerfish? We had several matches earlier. So.
Yeah, I like it. It seems like it's been toyed with the least. Like they've added a couple rails.
That rail is bad though.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have the rail behind the wall now, so you don't have to climb up on the wall.
That's
nice.
You can
and I kind of had a little sneak around kill using that rail. But the other one that goes over to your side, it's like they were already going to be coming over to your side. Like that, you already had to watch that side anyway. And it's like now it's just even easier for them to get over there.
Well, but now you have the rail to get over there yourself, to get back to that other side. But to me,
it's right at the start too.
Well, that's the thing. To me, that kind of ruins the map. Like the whole point of that map was it's split until the last minute when those ramps come down, and then you have easy access over that other side. Now there's really no point in that. Like, who cares if those come down? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any
although
difference.
before you could always get up your own side, couldn't you? I thought you always could get up your wall.
Well, you could
And-
go across and back
You had
around.
to go. Yeah, you had to go the long way to get
Or you
get up there for the first 2
Okay.
minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Now
you're
there
right.
is no long way because they added that rail. So it's like, what's the point of even having the gate?
Yeah.
It doesn't make.
Well,
You know what I mean? You can get.
I'd be okay with
get up
that rail getting removed, but I do like the other rail
others-
behind the wall.
The rail behind the wall is spectacular, and the other rail up top. You're right. Why did they need help? Do people need help piling into your base there?
Yeah.
What I didn't understand is at the very beginning, for those of you who play Splatoon 1, when you come out of your base, there's the walls that go up and down, and there was 2 of those, and it was sectioned off. And it was a great little spot, especially in tower control. That's the one I remember.
It was a fun little pocket area. Like, I know what you mean. Go ahead.
But now it's just a big flat area. There's one wall, and then it's just flat.
That's true.
And
Yeah, I forgot
no
it did used to have like a beam in between, and you kind of hide around. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. There was a lot of action. Like you could have 3 people from each team in that area, totally like chasing each other back and
Or
forth.
even in the Rainmaker, like that's where you'd have to.
Yeah.
That was the end of the Rainmaker's road, so you'd sit there defending that little area, hiding on one side of the wall. So,
or same thing with the tower defense. Right, it would go back through that. Like, now, what's the point? Like, right? I don't know. I agree. I didn't really think about it until you brought it up, Jason. I totally agree. That's a huge negative. And I don't know why they would have made that change, because it seems like all it does is just kind of simplify the map
and want you to have less strategy.
Interesting. Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of feels that way. It's like, okay, we're just going to put rails back and forth everywhere. All the areas that were previously separated off, so that you could have an actual team strategy back and forth.
Because I feel like I used to spend a lot of time on that little main strip, shooting across the gap at them, and they were shooting across the gap.
Yeah.
There'd always be like a sniper up on the wall.
Yeah. No, totally. And that was a whole part of the map.
But now I don't feel like I spend any time on that part of the.
You don't, because you just hop on the rail and you're over there killing them or getting killed immediately. Yeah. There's no. I don't. Yeah. I that irks me. Because that was kind of the character of that map, and now it's just like all the others, where it's just a big, bloodbath in the middle. Sorry, go ahead, Max. Or was it Max?
That was
me.
Oh, sorry, it doesn't.
I was actually going to say, we should mention that we only played Turf War, so it could be different in ranked. So I hope it is. I hope it's slightly.
I still had fun with it.
Yeah, it's good.
We still had a good time.
Yeah, we'd like to give
the Ron and Nell show.
The Ron.
Shout out to Ron and Nell.
Yeah, somebody named Ron. We played. You just said on the spawn. Why? Well,
yeah, it's like one match you'd be 1,200, next under 300.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were suspecting you were trying to power level your buddy Nell there, and then you both quit at the same time, so we were even more suspicious.
Thanks, Ron. Oh, but anyway, enough about Ron.
If you know Ron, let him know we were not happy.
Tweet us at NOA Podcast.
If you are Ron.
Yeah, if you are Ron.
Yeah, I'm sure there's only one Ron.
There's only one Ron in Splatoon.
Email us at our web zone if you would like
pizza roll.
Wow.
All right.
But yeah, I had a good time though. I still like it. It's still that's one of that was one of the new levels in Splatoon 1 that I liked.
It's very much a classic map, I think.
Yeah.
It still has a bit of that wall play, which more than most I find, which is nice.
Yeah, and I love the excitement of the chase when you finally do drop into their area and you go behind their wall, and it's almost always somebody's right on your heels. So it's like you're running, trying to get up onto their wall while there's somebody behind you, like chasing after you, trying not to. You got to do the splat jumping. Good times. All right, Splatoon 2. There you go.
Splatoon 2. That's right. All right, so moving on. It's an older series now that we're going to talk about. It's possibly coming back to Switch, and that is, besides Uno, which is Wave Race. So this comes from a BAFTA fandom interview with Shinya Takahashi, and he says, "You may see this game again when asked about Wave Race. For those that don't remember, the last release of a Wave Race game was back in 2001 on the GameCube. So,
Wow.
And they did recently, like, that's one of those ones that they recently renewed the copyright on, I believe, right?
I think so.
So, and I also saw there's some other company that that's putting out, either just put out or is putting out 2 jet ski games. I saw in the coming soon in the Switch eShop, and I was like, why do they have to put out 2?
It seems like they always do that. The chess, they did that.
It's like,
Pinball.
Firefighter.
no, there's
games,
only one chess
talking
game.
about.
I think there's only one chess game still on Switch.
Oh no, I wasn't
they
thinking
did-
chess. Pool. It was 3 pool games all came out.
Oh,
at
pool.
once.
Yeah, pool. There was like 3 of those, but this is, I think, the same company that just happens to make 2 different water ski games. And there's already one water ski game that's free on Amazon Fire, the kids tablet anyway. That's on Switch for $10 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I never played the Wave Race games. I know that were hugely popular amongst people who did.
You know what? Randomly, that was one of those ones that I was going through all my old stuff, and I found the manual for Wave Race, but not the game. And I didn't buy any. I didn't end up with any manuals for games I didn't own.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, was 64 the one that everybody loved, or did people actually like the GameCube one too?
I think I didn't even. Wave Race 64 is the one I always heard of. I didn't even remember there was a GameCube one.
Which it may be on the Wii U Virtual Console.
Am I remembering right that it was very difficult? Am I remembering that correctly? Because it seems like I remember playing. I didn't own it, but I borrowed it from someone at the time, and
I apparently owned it and loaned it away, and don't remember ever even playing it. That's the bizarre thing.
Did I have your card? No, just
somehow 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon had my card at some point. Therefore, you have my card.
That's right.
Yeah, I know it's a beloved franchise. That's a good mobile one. Why don't they just do that one mobile?
But now the quote, and Jason, which quote did you say? It said, because the quote I had read said, "You may see that game again," was the quote I had read, which to me doesn't necessarily mean we're talking about a new entry in the franchise. It just could mean we're getting Wave Race 64 on the Switch.
Yeah, I feel like they would say that about anything.
Well, the article where I got the quote from was saying this could be a hint at the GameCube Virtual Console that was supposedly leaked back in 2016. So,
you were thinking we might see the exact same game again.
Yep, it might be a re-release or a remaster, or maybe not even that.
Or just VC, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get VC in the first place.
True.
Then we'll have to get 64 virtual.
We know
then
it's
we'll
coming.
have to get GameCube.
We know it's coming with the online launch. We just
I don't know.
Do we?
We
know 3 games are.
We know something akin to some sort of virtual console is coming.
We will see.
We're
going to speculate on this until they tell us. Damn it.
That's right. We knew that the online service was coming last Christmas. We knew that the Switch UI was getting updated last Christmas.
Yeah. I was wrong. But I was sure that they were going to update that UI.
Yeah.
I still can't believe they haven't. We knew they were cutting Netflix too.
Why is this always a thing?
Yeah, I know.
Like, since people were like, "Hey, when the hell are you going to release another console to compete with the Genesis?" Hey guys, what the hell are you doing over there? Like, this is always a thing with Nintendo.
I don't remember feeling that way until
the competition. What are you doing?
I don't know if I remember feeling that way until I didn't buy. So I guess you could say that was the first Nintendo console I didn't buy. So I guess you could say that's when I first was just like, what the hell are you guys doing for this weird remote thing? But like before then, even with GameCube, like I guess there was a little bit of the what are you guys doing with the tiny discs, but I was totally on board. And I was like, I don't care if the disc is small. I was like, I want to play Rogue Squadron.
You know what? I was on board, but people were saying it. And I get, you know what I mean? It's hindsight. It's 2020. I was on board.
I guess 64 too was weird that they stuck with cartridges. So
I
guess it has been.
Were pissed,
I guess
and
it
that's
has
why
been
they
since
lost
Genesis.
third-party support. Yeah, it's.
I'm now on your side, Z. You're right.
Because we know it's just because the NES, right? Again, the NES was so hot that they just sat on it for like 8 or 9 years. They tried to run that thing as long as they possibly could before they finally came out with the Super Nintendo. And Sega had a good couple year head start on them at that point.
Yeah. Well, it had the Super NES came out a year earlier in Japan too, before it got to the States.
Okay, fair enough.
But Sega wasn't really doing any business over there compared to what it was doing here.
Yeah, Nintendo had a lock over there.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree.
In case you guys did not know, the console wars are never over. They will go on for as long as Nintendo exists.
Yeah. Although, are they really even a thing? Like, I definitely didn't know as many people on the Sega side of the wall. I feel like that was something Sega created, but they were the only ones really cheering for Sega.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving along, we've got. I know we covered this a while back, but this is more new information. We have new Pokemon trademarks. This time it is for the term Ultra Shiny. So the way this trademark works, it's including games, merchandise, all forms of things, Pokemon. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a sign of something new for the game? Is this just?
I think Crest finally let the trademark expire.
I was thinking we're getting Pokemon Red Ultra.
It could be the name of a new game title because we've got Ultra Sun and Moon. So
Ultra Shiny Pokemon Ultra Shiny.
Yeah.
I just assume it means a shiny Ultra Beast, but maybe it means something that's just shinier than shiny.
Maybe Nintendo is going to release Pokemon laundry detergent or toothpaste, like you said. It sounds to me like when they tacked the word "new" onto 3DS. They're just like now, like they don't ever create anything new. They just add another word to it. We already had Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, but this is new Super Mario Brothers.
This makes me wish they'd named the Nintendo 64 the Ultra Nintendo.
They were going to call it the Ultra. The
Well,
Ultra
they were going to
64.
call it the Ultra 64, but right, they should have just kept with it. The Super Nintendo, the Ultra Nintendo, the GameCube should have been the
Ultra Box,
the insane Nintendo,
Ultra Cube. Yeah, I mean it's I don't know anything about Pokemon. I think I've heard that there's shiny Pokemon.
Yeah, shiny Pokemon, for those not initiated, are basically Pokemon.
Catch, right?
Yeah, they're very rare, and they're Pokemon with alternate colors. It can be very subtle or very dramatic.
But they're not actually shiny. They're just different colors. So maybe now they'll actually be sparkly or something.
They have a sparkle when you see them.
That's right. You get a little...
But now they're Ultra, so maybe they'll have a sweet, anodized, reflective, metallic look to them. Metal Mewtwo. It's like Metal
literal
Mario.
Shiny. Literal shiny.
If it's ultra shiny, it'll be reflective. Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff about Pokemon popping up, so you hear a lot of little rumors. Ooh, they're going back to Kanto. Here's a blurry screenshot.
Maybe they're luminescent and they glow when they're powered up or something.
Ooh,
we need an HDR screen to see that.
The first underwater Pokemon game with bioluminescent Pokemon. And a glow-in-the-dark cartridge that tastes horrible.
That is one thing, drag it off topic once again. Where are our alternate colored cartridges? That's what I want to know. Yeah. Maybe Pokemon will introduce that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Doom should have been red.
Zelda should have been...
Gold, yeah.
a giant nostalgia opportunity not making Breath of the Wild a gold cartridge.
Maybe they're
Only
afraid
first
that would
run.
dissuade from digital sales. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
But they still put out a sword,
Yeah.
like a sword statue, and
Exactly.
case
They
and
had
all
all
that
the
other stuff,
collector's
so, yeah.
edition stuff without a code, so they,
Yeah. Well,
For the
even
game
like when
cartridges,
Metro. Oh, go ahead.
for physical cartridges, the cases that came with it, every one that I've seen up until I got the Labo one, the spine has been red, and the Labo was black. That's the only color variation I've noticed on any of the packaging.
and it has
There's
a
a
spot for you
YouTuber
to
who would
write your
complain
name.
about that. He did a whole video on different spines for different systems, and like he's like, and then
But just when
Nintendo
you-
went to the Super Ultra series, like when they did their collectors player's choice version, and he's like, now the spines don't match on these games, so they stick out when I've got them displayed.
How seriously OCD do you have to
I
be?
know. I can't remember what if it's Bomberman. Super Bomberman had been the only one that didn't have, like, everything else has got kind of a generic looking printed title on the spine, and then Super Bomberman printed with the actual like Super Bomberman logo.
Yeah.
And he's like, it just throws the whole thing off. So yeah, Labo's gonna throw people off. Sorry.
Well, it was just an interesting difference, that's all.
Now OCD people won't be able to buy Labo. You've warned them.
That's right. This is going to be a problem for you. Consider skipping Labo.
You're going to need to wait for the download version.
Or just not display the box, I guess. You can always do that.
You gotta leave it in your system.
All of my Switch boxes, not that I have all that many, but they all fit in that the giant oversized Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild box that I got with the stupid case and everything in it.
Yeah.
So that's my storage for my Switch boxes.
So putting boxes inside of boxes.
Yeah, eventually it'll be one solid mass. Like, it's already pretty heavy.
You should make it into a Labo.
Oh, I don't know if I want to cut up the box yet. Yeah, I probably eventually will.
You need to make a Labo box to go on the outside of the box, holding the other boxes.
I want a Labo wallet so that I can hold money to buy more Labo.
That would be rich. I'd love to see somebody pull that out. Let me get that out of my wallet.
Actually, you totally could. Just make a simple cardboard bill fold. Just cut a piece with the Nintendo Labo logo on it. Yeah, totally.
Have a Joy-Con stuck inside.
They should get on that while it's still hot. Like I can't wait till like E3 because I'm sure they're gonna have like generic like cardboard lanyards like that say Labo on them, or like I want to see what they're gonna have some stupid Labo thing that they're giving away.
If you didn't have to be running the Labo software itself, it would be interesting to make a Labo gizmo that you could put your Switch in that was a cartridge changer. It would store all your cartridges, and you could just pull a lever on the side, and it would switch your cartridge for you. Pull it again, switch to a different one.
Oh, you're
Hopefully
talking about
Nintendo. Nintendo Origami is coming next.
Yeah, it's going to be business cards at E3 that they're handing out will fold up into the Fall Guy. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Nintendo Origami only for Switch.
I kind of like want to have, cardboard business cards to hand out to people. Like, you can make a Labo out of that.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Treehouse is gonna spend half a day on Labo.
I think they're going to spend more than one day on Labo.
You think so?
I think it's going, or at least one day.
Yeah. I also suspect that the bird and the camera will be at least in a glass case somewhere.
Yeah.
That people will be able to see. But wait, they still no amiibo though. Maybe they'll show off the Callie and oh my goodness, not Callie and Marie. The other chicks.
You're talking about Marina and Pearl.
Marina and Pearl. Which I still have no idea when those are coming out. Soon, July.
Oh, with the update.
Yeah. Same day.
We'll see. I didn't expect 3.0 to hit so early.
I didn't either. I was shocked.
I thought it was going to be much closer to.
I kind of assumed, yeah.
We should mention too, talking about 3.0. Both me and Mo. Well, mine was kind of my own fault, but we both had problems getting the download started, and then the the services were down a little past after
Past the
post-update.
update, yeah. So when we actually loaded the update, the server was still down, maintaining.
Yep.
But it worked itself out soon enough.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, but it's just interesting.
So, Platoon, Wave Race, Labo.
Moving on, we got it. This is right up Z's alley. We're going to be talking about VR. So, Battlezones, originally a VR title, will be coming to Switch. Now, the game is coming out for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, May 1st, and that will have VR options. And then it will be coming out in summer for Switch, and it will not have VR options.
Well, you can see why they had to delay it so they could take away features.
That's right. It's kind of the story going with it, with every piece of software, it seems.
Yeah. Which one is different? Does not belong. Nintendo Switch. I mean, it looks like It looks like the Atari Battle Tank. Isn't that basically what it is?
I think so.
Or did they call it Battlezone? They might have called it Battlezone on Atari as well. Now that I think about it.
Good question.
I'm pretty sure Battlezone's a tank series that's been around.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
I remember it from the arcade.
Yeah, it looked like
that
polygons.
was the one that had the machines. Yeah, the ray trace.
Yeah.
That's right. It was just lines, green lines. You know, I there's been various iterations of it over the years. That I remember playing a PC version years and years ago. That wasn't terrible. And I remember hearing about the buzz on this VR one a year or two back. I think it was 2 years ago that it was relatively new, and it was, you know, it looked interesting. In VR, of course, it's one of those ones that makes you want to throw up. But on a console, it should be pretty good. I have not played it, but it was one of those ones I kept watching and was kind of waiting for a deal on. But yeah, I will have to see if it's cheap enough. I'd get it. I mean, again,
see the whole thing of it though is it's basically just probably almost a remastered version of an Atari game. The VR is the whole thing. It's like, so putting it on Switch, it's just going to be like a mediocre.
We'll see how it does. We'll see how it does, because
I'm assuming this is going to be online.
It's a team-based tank shooter that was apparently a lot of fun that people really enjoyed, and I think honestly, for most good VR titles, the VR is really the biggest hamstring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of these are like, oh, this would be such a great game if I didn't have to put on the stupid headset and go through all this hassle to actually play it and deal with motion sickness and whatever. This would be a cool game. There's a few VR games like that, and Battlezone's probably one of them. I might pick it up. We'll see. I'll check reviews and stuff, but as an old Atari fan, I think it's worth checking out.
Just a point of a clarification from someone who's never heard of this. You're talking about a team-based as in a team of tanks, or a team of people running a tank?
No, you each have your own
tanks,
tank. Yeah, you each have your own tank. I think it's
sort of like Sub Wars with tanks. It's like a first-person view, if I remember. At least the original was. I don't know about this.
Yeah, and they had some. The cool thing, at least in VR, is they had some like realistic, futuristic, cool-looking arenas. But then they had some others that were just total like traditional old school Atari, like tripped out color fests that were just, you're in just some bizarre environment that's totally unrealistic.
Lots of neon.
Yeah, exactly. And it has, it has like a retro mode and yada yada. And again, it was very well received, in the VR trades for a while. But again, that's a dying technology, I think we can all agree at this point. So it's like rats abandoning the ship. Anything worth saving, they're trying to get over to a console or get over to PC.
And Switch is hot, so they're just going to throw it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, how hot is Switch really? I mean, I guess
it still
was the best-selling console of March.
Yeah, I mean, it's still right. It's still rolling. Like, right, it's been just hard. Nintendo did a good job of making it just hard enough to get, but not too hard to get. So people are still picking them up. People are still grabbing. You were noting earlier, Mo, that Mario Odyssey is peaking back up on the download charts, right?
Yeah,
That means
as
people are
is
picking up
Zelda
new
and
Switches.
Splatoon.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's always the best indicator of whether people are picking up new Switches or not. Is how many
I
of those
can't imagine
are
they're
selling.
shifting new units on Kirby's back.
There, we know that.
Or Donkey Kong anticipation.
On my local store, though, it did seem that they sold a few when the Labo came out.
Yeah.
And that might be a surprise system seller.
Does Canada have a tax return season?
Yeah, that's true too.
Is that at the same time around as the US?
Usually you're filing in February, and a couple weeks later you get your returns.
There you go.
There you go.
Sounds like it works a lot better over there.
Yeah, definitely.
As is the case everywhere. But Nintendo is still the same messed up company up there. Some things never change.
That's where Reggie goes to eat his pancakes and maple syrup.
I love this. Yeah.
All
That's
right.
probably what killed Wii Fit You.
You'd rather have pancakes.
His body is flabby.
Okay. That was a pretty good one. All right. So since we're talking about games that are getting knocked back because of the Switch, Wolfenstein 2's physical release, we have found out that for Switch will require an internet download.
That's day one downloads are just that's standard fare. That's been on other consoles for years. It is what it is.
And I mean, they say that with Doom you didn't need it because the download was for the multiplayer only. But when I rented Doom, I couldn't play the game until I downloaded the multiplayer, which was a hefty thing. But this one gets the ugly white stripe on the box because it requires a internet download and probably an SD card.
That's true.
But it's a bigger game too than even Doom. But yeah, I mean, any kind of modern game is going to require an SD card probably, or a huge chunk of your hard drive. So that's
unless it's made by Nintendo. But then I guess that doesn't necessarily qualify as a modern game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. Like I said, I thought they were making progress, being that it was playable at PAX East, but like I said, I've heard hit and miss stuff on how its performance was. So hopefully they get stuff ironed out smooth. The screenshots weren't super impressive to me that were in the Nintendo news section on the Switch today.
We did finally get a release date. I'm assuming this is June 29th. So
yeah, sooner than I was expecting.
Yeah, I figured it'd be like Christmas.
Oh, really? See, I was kind of assuming it was more like spring. I thought it'd be either out by now or coming real soon.
That's what I had guessed when they announced it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was starting to think October.
For a while.
I was thinking September-ish.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I was excited about it when they announced it a year ago. Less so now.
I don't know that I'll necessarily jump right in on it. It seems like it's a good game and I'd like to play it, but I'd like to see what else is coming. Wouldn't we all?
I have the last one. I picked it up on Steam and have yet to even fire it up.
That's one thing that kind of bothers me is that that they're not releasing the first game. Like, that's been out for a few years. It seems like that would make sense. Like, why not just put that out first, ahead of the second one, or put them out at the same day, or make it
like they did with Bayo.
God forbid, make it a 1-2 punch. And same with like South Park Fractured But Whole. Like the other consoles, when it released, had like day one special editions that included the first South Park game, The Stick of Truth, and that's nowhere to be found on Switch. So it's weird that we're starting to get sequels where the original wasn't on there. And it's like, I think the whole idea with Bayonetta 1 and 2 re-releasing is like to get people hyped up for the new game. It's like, well, for people unfamiliar with the series or whatever, it's like, well, why don't Why don't they get some of these? I'm not going to play it still, but I think they might as well throw the original ones on there.
It seems to me like Bethesda, like
hell, I'd play Wolf 3D on Switch.
I agreed. It seems to me like they, like everyone's saying, "Oh wow, Bethesda's really support." Well, they put out Doom and Skyrim, and now they're doing Wolfenstein. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like it still feels like I'm being thrown a bone. Like everyone hails Bethesda for just doing what they should do as dev. And
if you look at them compared to other devs, like think of the most modern games that we've got on Switch, they're the Bethesda titles.
They're pretty much it. Yeah, I know. Agreed. At least the ones that work.
Right. Yeah. Thanks,
I understood. It still it still feels shitty that it's just like, well, okay, we could port the first game, but
I know what you mean.
There's no money in it. So, oh well, tough shit.
It's like every release has an asterisk beside it. It's like, this is delayed, or this is after other consoles release.
Or costs more, or is missing this feature.
That Switch catch that we've talked about. It's like there's always a catch.
Yeah.
Unless it's something real basic. Street Fighter went off without a hitch. They were able to get Puyo Tetris to work okay.
Yeah.
If they didn't know, wouldn't that be?
Yeah. But it's like anything that's halfway modern isn't coming or is gimped. So it's just the trade-off. At this point, that's just going to be how the Switch is.
Yeah.
If you want to play it while you poop, you're going to have to make sacrifices.
And it is definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is nice. I mean, there's nothing to get in the way of your Splatoon match now. Except for your battery.
That's right. Well, hopefully every room in your house has an outlet, so.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited. I think Wolfenstein's a cool series. I played, obviously, Wolfenstein 3D, and I played, was it Return to Castle Wolfenstein that was on PC like 10 years ago or more?
Well, more than that.
Which was, it was a cool, modern kind of, had some supernatural elements in it.
Because that was hip because of Doom. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's I enjoyed it though. So I've always liked the series, and this new iterations have been pretty well received. But I would like to see the not the original, but the Wolfenstein 1 version of the Wolf 2 that we're getting. New Wolfenstein.
There you go.
New Super Wolfenstein.
I got to look it up to see what it's called. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, Doom, they just called Doom 2016.
Should release
Doom because it's a legit reboot.
Yeah.
Should release the very first Wolfenstein as a Labo game with the shotgun version.
Oh,
there you go.
I thought you meant the original for Commodore 64, which I had and did not enjoy. I think it was text-based or something.
No, not the text-based one, but the,
Wolf
the
3D.
rudimentary graphics. Yeah.
You know, Wolf 3D or even the original Doom with motion control, if you could move left to right, it might be cute.
Wolfenstein: The New Order is
there. You go. Yep. So coming sooner than I thought. And there we go. We've got one more game that we know is coming out this year. It's wide open, Nintendo. Wait, when does Dark Souls get pushed back till? Did they say?
I don't know what they said. Or it was fall? Or next year?
I think it was summer.
Summer, yeah.
This summer? Yeah.
I can't remember if they got a date, so now hopefully they don't have to fight it out together. But yeah, it's like...
Oh, that would be terrible.
We've got Donkey Kong coming, and tennis, and Wolfenstein 2, and Dark Souls at some point, and a lot of stuff on the eShop that we will pass on. Oh, and we got Core Gadget, which I'm sort of pumped about, but I'm still probably going to hold off for. till the price comes down maybe a little bit. $48, but I've been wanting that one for a while, so it's nice that that's finally hitting.
For those that don't know, Mo is a very talented musician. We've heard been treated to some of his Korg creations before.
Yeah, I'm at least a tinkerer, so I like the little. I've got both of the Korg games on 3DS and enjoy composing music and just playing around with it. So I'm excited to have a better version on Switch.
At the price,
and it's something that's been around on. I mean, they've got this Korg gadgets available for PC and it's available for tablets and stuff. Although this one has some stupid stuff that Z would like that's been shoehorned in. Like you can turn the Joy-Con to manipulate the sound in real time, and they've added like weird motion control stuff to it that I would never use. But it's nice that they're trying.
Yeah, it's nice it's getting something added instead of removed.
Yeah.
That's true.
Still not biting on a Labo piano, though.
No, I mean, that was the only one that really interested me. It would be really cool if the Korg had been compatible with a Labo piano. I would actually like to see like a keyboard. Like I'd like to see a keyboard that could plug in to the Switch through USB and be used as a controller for the Korg stuff. I think that would be really cool.
It would be.
I would bet. Here's the thing. Remember they added that update to the Switch that enabled the support for all sorts of standard USB devices, headsets, and whatever, and even worked with the what's it called, the GameCube adapter. I would bet there's probably some USB music
keyboards that would work with it.
But then the Korg would have to actually support it. Unless they have some kind of mapping that you can do. We'll see. You'll have to let us know about all that.
Yeah, because you know what? I wonder. Now that I think about it, I bet the tablet and the PC versions probably have support for a USB keyboard. Oh, I'll have to look into that. It'd be cool. I kind of can get into that, like rather than lugging around. They call them soft synths, that are software-based synthesizers. Whereas back in the day, you had to have a physical box of sounds, and then you'd have to have multiple boxes of sounds and ways to control all of them. And now it's like you can just have 4 or 5 synthesizers all on a little TV screen and mess around, especially for someone like me who's not performing and they're just really to tinker with and have fun. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm pumped. What else we got tonight?
All right. Well, once again, Atari is making it back into our topic list. And it seems like they're just continuing to, I don't know what you take, desperate grabs at things.
Space Invaders cereal with a Labo on the box.
If only. If the box was a Labo. So they're launching a capital increase worth $6.1 million US dollars. So they're going to open up new shares. And I'm going to use the official terminology here because I don't know a better way to say it. New shares will be the object of request to enter the Euronext Paris market, which is basically the European stock exchange from what I can gather. So it's their operation value is at 10% of capital. So I don't know. It's a lot of stuff that's going to be.
There's just some weird shit happening at Atari. Like you feel like they're making a lot of moves, but you don't feel like outside of headlines, I'm not really seeing them. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've shown a Vapor box at the Game Developer Conference, and their controller is very obviously just an Xbox clone controller.
Yeah.
The only thing that's unique is the
joystick.
Yeah, the joystick's unique looking, but that could.
There was another interview I recently saw that I didn't share with everybody. That was with the whoever the head of whatever, either marketing or whatever, was talking about the new Atari box and just kind of reiterated like, this thing, you want Netflix, this will have Netflix. You want Twitch, this will have Twitch. And he was like, we're gonna marry the old classic style gamer and the new gamer together in one device that they can go to for all things.
So you're selling a $200 competitor to Apple TV and Roku and the Fire. Fire Stick. Like, I don't. That's what they're selling. They're selling a Roku that does games, or a Fire Stick that has a controller. Like, I don't.
And may play modern games, as well.
Here's what they've been silent on, or what I have not heard out of them that I'm waiting to hear is, I hear vague references to Atari's back catalog, and I have brought this up before. If that means the 2600, no, thank you. I don't care. Nobody cares. I mean, those games suck.
Because there's no other way to play those games.
Yeah, exactly, and that too. Yeah, but right, there's just those games suck. B, they're widely available. C, they'll hold somebody's attention for like, oh, this is interesting for 5 minutes to poke through a bunch of these games, and then I'm never going to touch them again because they're crap. That said, there have been some gems over Atari's lifespan, definitely arcade games, and there were some good ones, very good ones on the Lynx and the Jaguar, as well as those oddball numeric console computer things that they put out over the years. So you know what I mean? If they can scare up some good old licenses, and they have some of this legitimate Atari back catalog, the good quality stuff, they could have a go of it. I think they could make some money. They're never going to compete with the big.
Do you think
consoles.
anyone is jumping on this amazing opportunity to finally own a piece of Atari?
Well,
no,
because that's a sound financial investment, right?
Someone is. There's suckers everywhere.
It's like the people who buy like a share of Marvel stock or a share of Nintendo stock just to be like, I've got a share.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some people who've dumped some money into it who think it might go somewhere. But
Atari's not the next Apple, that's for sure.
I was just going to say one thing that the article I was reading about this, something they pointed out that I thought was interesting was this is giving value to the Atari games, possibility of rights acquisitions for certain game or for all of their games, I guess. So that could be one good point coming out of it, or one interesting point.
What if Atari buys Sega?
Well, what if Sega bought Atari?
It really could go either way.
Yeah. Then and neither would be good for either of them, I think.
Two failed companies together.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think the people at Atari seem to think they've got the next iPod on their hands.
Yeah. It's like you hear a lot of noise making, but we really haven't seen any results.
Yeah, but if they don't,
anything to get excited about.
That's the thing. There's nothing new or unique here. But then again, neither was the iPod when it came out. Neither was the iPhone. They just did it better than everybody else. Problem is, unless they're really pulling a rabbit out of their ass, I don't know how they're topping the extremely competitive market, the offerings from Apple and Roku and Amazon and Google, and others and
Nintendo and Xbox and
that too. Yeah, I mean, I don't think of the consoles, but you're absolutely correct. Nintendo's the oddball in that, and not probably for much longer. But yeah, all the other consoles have a comparable channel selection to the Rokus and the Amazons and whatever.
You always, especially in the Wii U generation, would see articles about obviously Nintendo Doom, but is there room for 3 consoles? And now it's like Atari's like, make way, we want to put a 4th one out there.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's like when we've seen consoles try to jump into the market, but not when it's already as crowded as it is. And it's a pretty crowded market at this point, because consoles are already fighting off phones, which again do all the same stuff as the Fire Sticks and the consoles and everything else. I love this thing. I want it to succeed. I want it to be cool. I want to play Tempest 4000, right? I want to see this stuff. I would love to have a cool little Atari box that does everything my Roku does and is a legitimate, console, and also happens to be a Linux PC I can dick around with. I can run Steam stuff on or whatever. I would have value. I would get value out of that. I don't think a lot of people will. And
the price point's going to be a big one too.
The price point's going to be too high. it's not going to tickle the nostalgia bone for people the way it does for me, but for most people. And I don't think it's going to be as good as I hope it is.
Right. Well,
You
I
know
know
what I mean?
I've talked before about nostalgia being an age thing.
Mhm.
And even Nintendo game for NES games and even Super NES games are coming down in value a little bit because the people who are nostalgic for that are kind of at an age now where they don't care as much. And 64 is the hot thing. So
Well, and
Atari
also
is
there's
further removed from those.
well that too, but as you mentioned, it's not like there's not a million ways to play it. Even NES
Yeah.
games, it's like most people nowadays that want to play an NES game are going to find some emulator on their phone and download the ROMs, or on their PC or whatever. They're not. It's the same thing for Atari. It's the same
Is
thing
this
for
for the
everything.
40-year-old or 50-year-old lapsed gamer? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
hey, maybe this is a way to get grandpa into Netflix and all these digital services that he didn't, now that it looks like his old Atari that he had when he was a teenager.
Here's the other thing: is anybody who wants all those a TV box with all those streaming services already has at least one and probably
Yeah.
multiple.
Even if you didn't want one, you've got something that'll do it now.
Yeah,
If
your
you've got
TV,
a cell phone, yeah.
your phone will do it, or your TV itself will do it these days.
Right.
It's just like they got to really bring something to the table here that nobody else has, or
A controller with one button.
nobody's gonna. Yeah, yeah,
That's something no one else has.
yeah. That's wonderful. Well, Apple.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Even the Apple TV remote has a couple
Yeah.
buttons on it. But no, I don't. They're not. They would have to drop some major piece of news between now and when they launch that. Like, you know what I mean? Something
Yeah.
bigger than the fact that they're releasing a new console.
And we just talked about a few weeks ago. I mean, they showed up at a trade show and they're like, "Oh, what does this thing do?" And they're like,
It's a hollow box.
Something cool."
Yeah,
So
it's exactly. It's a hollow box. These are mock-up controllers. Yeah,
I feel like they're bluffing in a poker game. Like,
yeah, because then you hear all these weird cryptocurrency deals and all this other weird crap on the back end, and they're opening up the roller coaster tycoon. They opened up for investment. Like
next
weird.
thing you know, they're going to be selling stuff on eBay.
Yeah, like I have the longer this goes, the more I'm thinking at the end of this, they're gonna have literally nothing to show. This is all gonna be a ruse, and no, we never even had a box.
They're like, you know what? We've decided to redesign this thing. We'll get back to you.
Yeah,
and then never hear from them again.
and then you hear they file for bankruptcy. Yeah.
I'll say, how likely do you think this is to end in bankruptcy for them?
100%.
Pretty likely. Yeah.
Even if the box gets produced, and even if they sell a good amount of them, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they can stay in business.
I guess it also depends on how big is the company at this point, because we don't know what Atari really is. I'm kind of surprised that they are even publicly traded to begin with, in whatever current state they are. I mean, I don't know how much Atari actually owns of any of the games that they had. Like a lot of the good ones, I think, were Activision, even on the 2600.
Yeah.
So, and I know that they kind of have been a distributor in the past. Like it's probably one of those things where some people, you hear developers talk about, I think it's so cool that my game is on a Nintendo system. Like it's probably something where there's people who are like, I think it's awesome that my game was distributed by Atari, just that it has that logo before my game starts or whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't see people lining up to buy these extra shares that are becoming available.
No.
Although I also don't know what the price of these shares is. It might be a penny stock.
Maybe we should invest as a podcast. But
Let's
probably
do it.
not.
If you think we should invest,
a
hit us
penny.
up at NOA Podcast on Twitter. Oh.
Yep.
We'll get a poll going.
For a penny, if they're penny stock.
We always said we could run Nintendo. We could probably run Atari.
Well, we
A
can't do
monkey
worse
could-
than they are.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
already
A
being
monkey
run
can
into the
run Atari
ground.
better than
Just make a
My
new
first-
roller
My
coaster
first
type.
plan would be to put the company up for sale.
She's gonna say your first plan would be to buy a Sega.
Yeah.
They said they
Yeah.
were listing, what, 10, 20%? That's not a controlling
10%.
interest.
Yeah, just
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
That's-
Alrighty.
All right. So speaking of old consoles coming back, SNK is releasing a Neo Geo Classic Edition because that's what
What?
everybody's been wanting.
If you didn't get enough of the Neo Geos on Switch,
Haven't there been a million like little Neo Geo handheld something or others?
I don't know. I don't know that there has been. Like, I know we've had
Maybe they're all-
obviously Nintendo,
maybe
we've
they're
had
all-
Sega.
Pirate machines. Maybe they're not legitimate.
I don't know if
What?
I've seen SNK ones.
Before they had
If-
made a console called the Neo Geo X, which had preloaded games, and then you could buy like packs of games. And
Oh, really?
And how it ended up is SNK actually had to take action to stop production of it because it was doing so poorly.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, SNK is super. I mean, we just talked about Atari. SNK, I feel like, is almost even more niche.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is for their 40th anniversary, so they're even
Yeah.
probably a little older.
my guess is it'll be a limited thing, though. And
But-
obviously, they keep putting these games out for all these different consoles. So I know, like I said, I know I had an SNK collection on the Wii that was like just 10 games or something on a disc. So somehow, whoever owns that license, I can't imagine SNK still exists as a company, but maybe they do. But whoever's got that is still selling enough that it's worth their while, I guess, to keep putting stuff out. It's I think the NES has really launched that mini console craze. Sega was putting out the little mini console.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it
That's all
wasn't until Nintendo got in on it that everybody decided.
Yeah, I mean the flashbacks and stuff have been out forever, but this is the first one people have wanted.
Well, it's just right. It's just like when Nintendo did motion controls. Everyone just clones it
Yeah.
because that's what they do.
Well, Sega's had like 2 or 3 different versions of their Genesis out as like a plug and play console.
Yeah. Mhm.
But now let's do a mini one. It's like, I wonder what prompted that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think anyone here is going to be picking up the SNK.
I'd say the
But-
same amount of people who have bought SNK
Labo.
games on the Switch will be buying this new mini console.
Yeah. I think they've got a dedicated fan base. And like I said, maybe because it's wrapped up with the 40th anniversary, they can do it as a limited run, and it'll be a
Maybe so.
cute little thing. It's not going to bankrupt them.
Or whoever owns them.
See if
Yeah.
they take that as a cue from Nintendo too. Just how limited will the run be?
Yeah. I'd still love to see those numbers on the Switch, like especially because early on there was nothing else but the Neo Geo games in the eShop, or like it seemed like it was almost 50-50. I'd like to see how well those did. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me it's like you're either going to have Street Fighter or you're going to have Mortal Kombat, but you're probably not going to also have 20 different SNK Neo Geo fighters.
Yeah, there is a lot of fighting games.
Yeah, they're the fighting game company.
And I don't know,
So
like if
someone out
it's
there's pumped for this.
a series of 1 through 3 or 4 or more, how many do you need?
Yeah,
Surely you've got a favorite that you go to.
I never progressed past number 2 for Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
All right, so we've been talking about some weird things, and I'm afraid it's going to get a little bit weirder before we're done. So there's a new studio that's come into being, which is 8 Circuit Studios, and it's got developers from Nintendo, Microsoft, and EA. I think we've just established these are ex-employees, definitely. So they're focusing on blockchain technology, which is building of a digital currency. So here's their mission statement: is to develop a new ecosystem where gamers, developers, and publishers work together. So what they're picturing is something like we've seen in Ready Player One or in Tron or The Matrix. They're thinking this metaverse, it is here, it's coming, and they think they can bring it to us. So, yeah.
Welcome to the digital world.
Yeah, it's a lot of marketing buzzwords. And you know what I mean, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
weird. I think it's really weird.
So yeah, and I couldn't understand from the story if that's we're basically what it translates to is we're creating money for them. Like we're playing games that are involved in a blockchain that make cryptocurrency that goes in their pocket.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, the first they've got 2 games coming out, and the first game is coming out is a mobile game, and I think it comes out this spring. And the actual title is Alien Arsenal Battle for the Blockchain, which is, again, a weird thing to me.
Sounds like one you'd see in the shop and pick up immediately, right?
Buzzwords, right?
Pre-order.
Oh, that's that blockchain game. That's what they're hoping is. Oh, this is something to do with Bitcoin. I'll check it out.
Yeah. They should throw extreme in there without an E at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Buffalo Wild Wings. The word wild. If it's ever used, not to describe an actual animal that is out in nature, then it's used as a marketing term. Like normal people don't use the term wild.
These wings are wild.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. And it's the same. There's just a string of buzzwords.
While we're at it, there's nothing cool about Cool Ranch.
And we've got developers from drop some big company names here. So they put it's like, hey, wait, have you ever worked at Nintendo? Oh, okay. Like you were a janitor at Nintendo. All right, we can throw Nintendo on our for our name drop.
I think when the digital world comes here, it'll be one of our corporate overlords, not some company we haven't heard of before.
Yeah,
but you never know.
I'm still trying to envision exactly what they're doing here, because I mean they've got this idea for some sort of currency that can carry over. They talked about some sort of items that would carry over but be, unique to whichever game you were interfacing with. It seems like they're going for some sort of umbrella thing that can tie into these different platforms, games, or ideas, but I can't really see how that would work.
And they would control them all. Like it's again, it's like, hey, we're gonna bring you into the multiverse with blockchain technology. It's just like, dude, you're reading from a marketing manual.
Yeah.
Like they're saying nothing. They're just throwing out words that are catchy right now because Ready Player One and VR and whatever. Like this is 100% BS.
Maybe if you can recruit
more
2
BS
friends
than Atari. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then they recruit 2 friends.
Yeah, metaverse, not multiverse, but
you'll start seeing fractions of cryptocurrency. Yeah, I mean, and it's gonna be hard. I mean, Atari's already got the jump on the cryptocurrency thing, so. I really don't know if it's like in the early days, when you saw those little captchas on websites, it was actually doing something. You were actually like translating books and stuff, one word at a time. Like they would have, that's what captchas were doing. We're translating old books that computers couldn't read the word, and just using humans to basically do that. So in the early days, those were actually useful. So I kind of wonder if that's what this is. Like to you, you're playing a video game, but it's actually creating currency for them. But then it seemed like they were saying like you might be able to keep some of this.
Yeah, it's right. Like YouTube, like YouTube. We'll split the difference with you.
Yeah,
and the house always wins.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what they're thinking behind this. But again, you're not selling anybody on a metaverse when VR is in the toilet. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's pretty clear at this point that VR is not taking off.
And
And
I am old, but when I hear cryptocurrency, I'm still even Bitcoin. I think we can agree is like the most legitimate cryptocurrency, and
Mhm.
even that's still not very legitimate. Like,
No,
Yeah.
it's not. And at the end of the day, I like, how do you insure Bitcoin? How do you get Bitcoin back if it's stolen? You don't.
yeah,
You just don't. Like, Bitcoin exists for like a perfect, it's like libertarianism. It's this perfect idealistic view of something that's just never going to work in the real world. That's just not how reality works. It's a great idea, but there's just, humans and, numbers. Like the fact that it will take the entire power output of the world to mine Bitcoins at some point at current rates of increase. Like it's just stupid and it's unsustainable. And again, it's just like the beginning of the dot-com boom in the 90s as an old man where people would pop up a website. We're going to sell paper clips. Invest $1 billion into us, and people would do it.
paperclips.com.
Yeah, right. And it, it just the most asinine business ideas would just get bankrolled left and right. And I just feel like we're just right. Every so often there's a new wave, and like blockchain technology is the new buzzword, like the internet was back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just now that's why right, there's all these companies coming out of the woodwork. We're doing blockchains now. Well, good for you. That'll
Yeah, I
give
mean, when I hear it,
people will dump
it
money
automatically.
short term, and then eventually everyone will go, hey, what the hell is this crap? And then there will be a huge crash.
Yeah,
But
I
anyway,
respect them a
you were
little
saying.
less. Oh, I don't know. I was driving today and I saw a store that was a new store that opened. That's called Batteries and Bulbs. That just sells batteries and light bulbs. And I was like, huh, somebody sank some money into that.
And
That's a little bit what this place reminds me of.
like
It's like,
like you have to pay rent on a place that you're going to pick 2 items to sell.
the parking lot was not packed.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, what is there? Is that seasonal? Like, do they get
No,
busy around
I don't
Christmas?
think so.
Like, you think batteries and light bulbs are
I
big
think you drive by, you
holiday
see the
sellers?
sign, you're like, oh crap, the batteries did just die in my remote. I guess I'll stop there.
Yeah, we have some
And
stores. I think they're
and
batteries, possibly just batteries.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's Batteries Plus, like it's just a battery thing where you can go to get your weird batteries, but it's like,
really,
and that's the
Yeah.
other thing. Yeah, there's a store that's already dedicated to batteries. There's also the internet. Um, but yeah, it's weird to me that I'm like now there are 2 of them. There's
like who has the wherewithal to get all the money together and get the business license and go through all this process and open a store like that? Like,
Imagine going to a bank in 2018 saying, I'm opening a store that sells batteries and light bulbs. That's kind of like a little bit to me of this company saying, we're going to create that metaverse.
yeah, exactly. And it's just, there will be some people that go, great idea,
Yeah.
here's your money.
There's
And
going to be
most everyone else is
cryptocurrency
like,
and avocado toast and all the other things you kids are into.
Yeah, everybody uses electronic devices,
Hoverboards,
and these are the replaceable components. They're going to need them.
fidget spinners. We got it all. Yeah. Um, I don't know, man. I haven't heard a ton of this. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm sure at some point people laughed at Apple for saying everybody's going to have a computer someday. But this needs a little work. Like I said, if it was something like Apple has merged with Microsoft and Starbucks and McDonald's and Disney, and they're creating a multiverse, I'd still be like, that's pretty crazy. But I don't know. They just might be able to pull it off. But somebody coming from nowhere with a game that sounds horrible that's starting on mobile.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're creating a metaverse based off of a mobile game.
But who knows? I mean, it says these people used to work for Nintendo and Microsoft. It didn't say if they were programmers or janitors or did it. Oh.
Well, they made sure to get into Nintendo people's feeds and into Microsoft people's feeds, and right.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's just like that other company that we reported on very early on one of our first episodes, whose name escapes me. That was creating a new company that was going to do all these amazing things, and I still haven't heard from them. If you remember, they were creating a new video game company that wasn't really defined, but it had like Nintendo's backing and a bunch of other companies.
And it got a ton of money dumped into it as well. I can't remember.
Yeah, it had like celebrities that were backing it.
Yeah.
It's like, we're still waiting on that one. So I don't know. This company I don't trust. I just don't see anything happening. But good luck, guys.
Yeah, go
Get
for
behind
it.
Atari.
Good luck.
We live in the bullshit era these days.
Yeah.
So that is what it is.
Well, hey man, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's what Wayne Gretzky says. Right, Barry? We're right? All right.
As you can see, hockey is a major topic here on the.
That was a big no comment. But yeah, I've heard the line.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. So we move on to our final topic of the evening, and it is a very controversial one, and one that Nintendo is just recently getting to experience, and that, of course, is loot boxes. And the news that we covered last week is they are indeed, in some shape and form, in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp now.
Which Barry explored a little bit more and said it's not nearly as bad as we kind of initially thought.
Yeah, it seems like there are a couple of ways that you can get them without using the leaf tickets, which you have to buy. It's just not a very, very common. And the prizes that you need to get the memories, you don't need to collect the whole set. You just need the rarest item, which is about a 3% drop rate. So that's a little better, but it's still, on the way, I suppose.
But if you wanted to spend no money and unlock a memory, it's gonna take a while. Right.
Probably. I mean these series are out for 2 months to begin with, and you got one of each type of cookie in your first week's check-in bonuses. I don't know if that's going to be repeated or not. Every so often another cookie comes up, but that's not very many if your chance of getting that item is that low.
3%, yeah.
That's still a terrible lot of work to complete a set as well.
Yeah, if you're a completionist and trying to complete the set, it's going to be a lot harder, obviously, and would require some leaf tickets. And there are ways to get them without paying money, but the amount you can get. And I experimented getting a few with the leaf tickets, and yeah, it's pretty random. I got like 5 pairs of the same pants, and I'm still missing about a third of the items, including a lot of the common ones.
All right.
But anyway, more loot boxes.
Talking about loot boxes, of course, the biggest thing you have to mention with loot boxes, of course, is Star Wars Battlefront. And
you almost said Star Fox.
I almost said
if I gotta buy a loot box to get a good Star Fox game, damn it, I'll do it.
It feels like when you buy a Star Fox, you're buying a loot box.
Yeah.
And you find out there's nothing good inside. So, the EA had this big ordeal with it, and they ended up removing them prior to launch, and they've revamped their progression system and things through the game. Some other games had problems with it. Shadow of War removed microtransactions, and Destiny 2, I think a lot of people that are playing that are still pretty upset at how things are handled there.
Yeah, they basically changed that game, like where after it had been out for like a year, parts that you could have previously played for free, or not for free, for $60, whatever you paid for the game,
right?
All of a sudden are now behind some sort of paywall where I think you had to buy DLC or something to be able to do things that you used to be able to do for free.
Yeah, they're rightly so upset. I mean, I think
yeah.
Definitely. That's not right.
Imagine if Splatoon came along and was like, okay, now if you want to play Grizzco from here on out, you have to buy the Octopath expansion kit, or something like that. It's like,
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. It'd be an outrage and a great war on Twitter for Nintendo. So
yeah, that's every day though.
it is true. So the big loot box news this week, though, is loot boxes have been determined to be gambling and violate certain European countries' gambling laws, and this includes Belgium, Germany, UK. They're all looking into this, but the big one was from the Netherlands. And it says, because these boxes in certain games, and the games they named were FIFA 18, Dota 2, PUBG, Rocket League, all huge games, you can sell these games for real. I mean, sell these loot boxes for real money outside of the game. So they're saying that it is indeed gambling. So they've given their ultimatum of 8 weeks for them to adjust their policies.
You know what? I guess I would agree with that. And I gotta say, we've said before, they have some pretty tough consumer protection laws in Europe, and I think we in general look favorably on those.
Yeah.
Because
Well, we're
around here, not
consumers.
so much. Yeah, as consumers,
Not millionaires.
yeah. But that said, yeah, I mean, and also I kind of, and maybe it's because I'm getting older and I'm a parent or whatever, but I do kind of agree with. I mean, now in-game items have legitimate real-world value. They never used to.
Yeah.
But now
well,
they
even with Animal Crossing, there was some stuff of people selling crap on eBay.
Yeah.
Wasn't there? Like
that's true.
You pay this and we'll go, and at least that you weren't
selling characters, even villagers.
But yeah, it's huge on on stuff now. It's like if you open a loot box and you get a rare item, you can go to a website and sell it. I've found ones for Rocket League where I can sell them the loot crates themselves, and they'll give me actual money. It's not much, but they'll give me actual money for it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody loves loot boxes. That's the thing, is it's like people have put up with them because it's the only way to get that cool shit in your game.
Yeah.
It's like you would prefer any other method. But every now and then you're just like, I guess I'll roll the dice. And in some games it's worse than others. Some it's cosmetic, some it's not.
Article I read that looked at what sort of changes do they want out of the Netherlands for them to make to these games, and it was talking about things to reduce the addictive nature, or to make it less tempting for kids. One of the suggestions was, a lot of them have animations when you open a box that, it gives you the illusion of a near miss. Oh, you almost got this, or something like that.
Yeah, even Rocket League's got like a slot machine almost that a wheel spins.
If they just cut the animation, would that be a big enough change to remove, or would that, in conjunction with some other minor change, be enough to remove that temptation or reduce it?
Here's the problem: is you suddenly are getting into the point where it's like, how much fun is too much fun, right? What is an acceptable amount of fun versus not? And is that fun? I mean, you know what I mean? You start to get into some really, really gray areas with it.
It's only fun when you get the thing you want, though. It is gambling. If you gave me the choice in Rocket League to get the cool stuff that I've gotten without paying money for it, like I don't care that it's got like a little wheel or anything else. It's like
I guess it's just really comes down to, are you basically paying for an item? And with a loot box, it's a very direct. You're paying for a chance to get an item. Yeah.
Right. And I know some countries like Japan have rules where you have to state what the odds are of winning each item as well. Where other countries don't have that.
We have that for like lotteries and stuff here, but not for games.
But I don't know. I've always felt like if you're a company who makes video games for a living and you can't sustain your business by making video games, then maybe you shouldn't be making video games. It's like, this is just one more thing, because the argument for years has been, well, $60 is the price, and And it's been the price forever. And really, a game should cost $90 or $100, but you won't buy it if we raise the price. So we have to nickel and dime you through DLCs and other crap. But yeah, it's like,
Well,
I think people would be more than happy to buy some of this crap if you just said outright, you spend this amount and you get this thing.
I think another part too is trying to get games from where they're not just, I know what you're meaning, like it's a $60 purchase, but they're wanting to extend the life of games where they go on for, instead of 6 months or whatever, they go on for years. And it's like, is there a way that they can do this without the loot boxes? I think they found that the most scummiest way to do it, but is there an alternative?
A lot of games do it through in-game currencies, and then you can use it for a number of things. That's a different approach. Or then you've got things like in the old Steel Diver or other things where you buy different skins for different subs or whatever. There's different approaches, but how random is it?
I get this game called Super Mario World. I've been playing it for over 20 years, and I just keep going back because it's fun.
Yeah.
But and I feel like that's enough for me. I don't know that I think the only reason companies want to extend the life of games now, though, is they want it to extend the life because that takes pressure off of them to always have to have the next game, and they want to keep that. They don't just want to extend that life of the game; they want to extend the profits. They want a way that that game can keep making money for them, and that's what loot boxes is. It's like you buy a Rocket League or a PUBG or any of the billions of those games, and you put a few bucks in, every month or every week.
Cosmetic stuff, right? Yeah. In those kinds of things, and that's where it's
at least in Rocket League.
Because like I can play Rocket League if I want, and just never bother with any of that.
Right.
And if I feel like throwing down a couple bucks, I can. But when it's items to progress and it's actual, like you're basically paying to get a hero in Battlefront or whatever, like that's just, it has to be done right. And it has to be done in a way that's not like
in some games it is pay to win. In some games you can play the game without this stuff, but if you don't have this stuff, you're going to get murdered because in some games it is more powerful and better equipment.
And that's the thing for a free-to-play game, for a free-to-play model, that's one thing, right? If you're the free-to-play person, you kind of expect to be the fodder. But for a game that you paid, that everyone has to pay a barrier to entry to begin with, that's just not cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of gray areas here because you take a game like Breath of the Wild, for example. You're not buying extra rupees that you can use in game, but
this isn't competitive.
Okay. There is a competitive difference there, but stuff like an amiibo has got random drops associated with it, which help you progress in the game, and you can get better stuff from it or worse stuff from it, and you can use it as many times as you want over a period of time. But you're still paying for something that's giving you random drops that help you progress in the game, or that help you get a new suit to wear or something.
At least there you know at least the price up front of what you're paying,
right?
To keep using this over and over and over until you eventually get the thing that you want.
And I would, I mean, but again, I don't think there was anything that were drops that were of particular value. Yeah, there were some nice weapons, and but you know what I mean. There was nothing that was
nothing as cool as the Master Sword.
But something that you know what I mean. Anything that you could pick up in the game, you know what I mean. There wasn't anything like if you got
Epona,
the
I guess,
you could just tear through it.
Like Jason said,
Epona, right? Epona, Epona's fair enough. And
there
maybe
are Zelda people that want that Epona.
Okay, fair enough. But to me, for a single player game, that's entirely up to you. Whereas in a competitive game where you feel you need these items to compete, that's a different kind of scenario. You know what I mean? In Zelda, you're not going up against other links that have stuff that you don't. Other players. So
and a lot of some of the companies have gotten really slimy. Like in the newest Call of Duty, there's a thing where when you're storming the beaches of Normandy, and then the game's like, ooh, the player next to you just bought a loot box. You can watch him open it. And you get some sort
get
of
something.
you get some sort of either experience or in-game currency or something by watching people open loot boxes, so you can see how much cooler that is. And some other companies have employed like algorithms where they will put you with somebody who has purchased a lot of DLC, so that person can kill you, and then you can be like, oh, I got killed by this person over and over, and they all have this certain DLC or loot box item. That they've said, like, this is how we've done our model, so that it encourages people who are non-payers to maybe cough up some bucks. It's in the matchmaking that it puts them with people who have a lot of these DLC items. So that's kind of manipulating people to try to squeeze a little bit of money, which, I mean, advertisers have always been pieces of shit. That's no secret, but it's like it's slimy claws are starting to get into gaming.
Yeah, I can see that, and I would say that's definitely a problem when you get into the online competitive stuff that gives advantage. But one of the ones that was singled out was Rocket League, and their stuff's all cosmetic. So
That's true.
That doesn't apply. It's not that they're going for.
Yeah.
But it's still being sold for money, for real money outside of the
and it's on a random chance. Yeah.
Well,
I think
that's true. That's
and
true
for people with
on the back end.
addictive personalities, they might continue putting in money and money and money and money.
And I remember 10 years ago hearing a story about there was some online MMO in China, and some guy like loaned some other guy a sword, who in turn like sold it to somebody for $1,000, and the guy showed up at the dude's house with an actual sword and stabbed him. So like, I know this stuff's been going on a long time. That was like
fair.
ago. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
But it is, as Barry said, is even though in Rocket League it's about as honest as it can be, right? It's purely cosmetic. It's really the best way to do loot boxes. But even then, when you're turning around selling them for real money, and there's a real aftermarket, on eBay, it still falls into the same category, I guess, intentionally or not. As nice as they try to make it in Rocket League, it's still a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it still sucks to put $5 into Rocket League and get a bunch of crap you don't want that you really can't. I mean, you can get rid of for a lot less than you paid for it. But a lot of stuff in Rocket League 2 is very specific. Like, you might get decals that can only work on a specific car, and some of those cars you can only get through loot boxes. So you might have to randomly roll to try to get this car so that you can use a bunch of these decals that you have for this car that you don't own. So I mean, yeah, it's still slimy. And I think at the end of the day, we would all prefer to just say, I'm giving you this amount of money and I'm getting this amount of product. I don't mind as much DLC stuff. Like I was okay with Breath of the Wild, where they say, you pay this much more, you get this much more game.
The second one, anyway.
The second one, anyway. And the first one had some stuff in it. I'll probably plunk down on Splatoon 2, as probably most of us will.
Yeah.
Even though I have no interest in another.
Yeah, I don't either. But, I mean, I love the game. I want to support it. And,
It's just not a complete game if you don't have the DLC,
That's true. That's how they get you.
Yeah, they know that.
Now, Barry, you just recently picked up Breath of the Wild for Switch. You're going to pick up the DLC?
Not at this time. Who knows? Maybe down the road at some point. But I don't have any immediate plans to get it now. Yeah. If I want to play the DLC, I've got that on the Wii. So
there's plenty of game without it. There really is.
Maybe Nintendo could sell you the DLC for $20, or you could spend $1 a chance to get the DLC, and just keep putting dollars into the big old slot machine and see if you can get the Champions Ballot that way. Wouldn't that be so much better?
Or maybe they'll make it available on my Nintendo for reward points.
Yeah, and I've talked about with Eric's Badge Arcade, which sort of is almost like a variation on loot boxes.
Yeah.
Even though it's free to play, I feel like there should ultimately be, if you're gonna do it, which I'd prefer you don't, but if you're gonna do it, there should be a limit where you've put this much money. Congratulations, you unlock all the crap you could have gotten. No matter how crazy they set that amount, once you get to $100 or something, like, and some people might outright pay it. If they're like, if I pay just $100 and I get every in-game item, like, it might be worth it to some people. But there's certainly people out there who have paid more than that.
They had that in Pokemon Rumble World on 3DS, where you spend a certain amount, basically you just get a money mine, or I think there's a tree in the Team Kirby Clash Deluxe that just spits money at you like crazy, and the more you spend, the more it gives you until the end, where it's just you get all the money, in-game money for that game you could ever use.
Yeah. And I'd be fine with that. I'd like to see more limit. I mean, if they're going to be greedy, they should cap their greed at some point and say, once we've milked a player for this much money, let's cut him a break.
But lots of times we've covered the story before where the whales that are spending this huge amounts of money are keeping the games afloat.
Yeah, that's who they're
spending nothing or very little.
Yeah, and that's who they're trying to get.
Yep.
But you might even be able to get more money if you just flat out told them the deal to begin with. Like, hey, you pay this much, you'll get this. More people might bite. I would pay the price of Rocket League over again if I knew that I could just unlock everything in the game. They'd at least get double their money or double my money at that point. But I've slowed down. I mean, I've bought loot boxes in Rocket League, and I've pretty much stopped now, unless they give me free box openers, free keys for my boxes.
They made it a flat rate. You spend $10 and you get everything that comes in this particular crate.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That's it.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm glad Nintendo is still slow playing this, and I'm kind of also glad that now that EA screwed up in such a way that it brought so much public
shame.
Yeah, like, well, just awareness of what it is, and I know some states or countries that now have to like put something on the box that says like, warning parents, this game contains loot boxes or in-game purchases or something like that, which you probably will ignore because of seeing it in your app store all the time.
I mean, on the one hand, I don't want to sound like an old person. There's, these damn kids and their friggin' microtransactions, but
back in your day,
well, no, and it's. I mean, you know what I mean. I'm willing to accept them to a degree, and I think free-to-play games are a perfectly viable model, as long as they're not too insidious. But then, I mean, we're basically to a point where there's so many games produced daily, like you can't police them all. So what? Well, I guess you have to police whatever gets popular enough to draw public attention.
Yeah. Well, and that's what EA did. They ruined it for everybody. Which is good for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it took them being as greedy as you can be and doing it with such a beloved franchise around the same time that a new movie was coming out for that franchise that everybody looked at it. And once the lawmakers start looking at it, then everybody else is like, oh shit, we better preemptively kind of pull back on our thing. There's it got the most downvotes on Reddit for their statement about the loot boxes. So it's like all of a sudden, this is the outrage culture that if you say the wrong thing and you're a celebrity, everybody jumps on it. Well, loot boxes was the wrong thing in this case, and all of a sudden everyone revolted against loot boxes. So now all these companies are like, on second thought, after our game's been out for a year, we've decided to get rid of loot boxes because you're right. They're not good for this game.
Can you imagine if in a game like Pokemon, you had to actually purchase with actual money all your Pokeballs?
Yeah.
Except for maybe a few you'd find or were given here and there. But for the most part, if you wanted Pokeballs, you had to buy them.
Go.
Yeah.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you've got you can buy Pokeballs, but it's almost like you get Pokeballs, but then there's also a slot machine to see if you can catch
I think Fire Emblem Heroes is a better comparison there, because you do get free tries, but you are randomly trying for a very large pool of characters. You're trying for one. It's got like a 3% chance or less of being pulled, and you
But you
can
can always pay money
prize.
for more chances, right?
Right. You can't buy the characters, but you can buy more chances.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing is it's insidious, but at the same time, it prevents somebody from just buying all the characters and owning the game. You know, that's like there's a lot of the free to play games on phones that I play are that way, right? Where even though you can, there's a limit. You can only buy so much X per day, or you can only do so much of this. No matter how much money you spend, you can't. They won't let you complete the game immediately. Basically, you know.
Oh wait, kind of pacing the game.
Yeah, it paces it out like a Clash Royale. No matter how much money you buy, no matter how much money you spend, you can't immediately collect all the cards to max out all your troops or whatever. You have to spend weeks or months, still upgrading your troops, no matter how much money you spend.
Yeah. Well, they want you to keep coming back because then you might spend even more over a longer period of time.
Well, yeah, but they also, right? They have to keep the small fish happy with the whales around, right? They can't. If all the whales just own the game, then there's nobody, right? Then the little guys, there's no reason to play.
Yeah,
there's no reason to be a whale, even.
Yeah, because if there's no little guys, then there's no reason to be a whale, and their whole economy fails. So they have to have some balance so that the people who are dumping tons of money into it can only get so much further ahead.
Yeah.
Unless you're.
What if Smash Brothers had a thing where you pay $1 and you might randomly unlock a new playable character? That's basically kind of the equivalent of what we're talking about.
This is something. It's kind of how Disney. There's certain places Disney just won't go. I see this as a place Nintendo just will never go.
I hope not. I mean,
the inclusion of these cookies. I mean, it sounds like they're not nearly as bad as we thought. But having them in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, it's terrifying to think that something like that could be in the mainline Animal Crossing game.
I mean, aside from Badge Arcade, their mobile games have been so far where they've stuck this kind of thing. But yeah, just the fact of taking a beloved franchise like an Animal Crossing and saying, here's furniture that you can only get through random drops.
Yeah.
Well,
try to complete the set.
Badge Arcade is simple and straightforward, and it was also out in Japan for years before we got it here.
Yeah.
Which that probably also maybe had something to do with it. But I don't know. I see this as right. Nintendo has their brand, their family-friendly brand, and I just don't see them. This is one of these things that would hurt it. They know it.
Hopefully.
And I see them staying far away from it for the most part.
And we all loved Sub Wars, and that basically was pay to win.
No. We all argued at the time, and I had friends that never paid. The free subs were legitimate, at least for for you know what I mean, for the turf war crowd. The free subs were legitimate subs. Once you started getting into like your level of play, obviously they weren't. But
yeah, because they're pay to win.
I
mean, yeah, if I mean the premium subs were not objectively, they actually literally factually were better. So if you wanted to be competitive within that game, you had to at least that. It's not objective though. They just were.
You could still win with a weaker sub if you were a good player.
Subjective is the word.
Maybe.
Sorry, you were saying, Barry?
Well, I knew people who played with the free version, and if you got good enough, you could win with the free subs, the first level subs.
You get lucky.
You were at a disadvantage, yes, if you were against someone of a comparable skill, but it was doable.
Yeah,
it was doable, and you weren't. I would occasionally have. There was the first sub that was crap, and then there was the second sub that was okay. And occasionally I would have, you'd have somebody in that second sub on your team that wasn't terrible, that was reasonably pulling their weight.
Yeah, contributed.
Yeah.
If you and I fought and I had a hatchet and you had a screwdriver, you could possibly win. But I've definitely got an advantage.
Yeah, you've got an advantage.
That's kind of how Sub Wars was. Although I didn't mind it, but I bought the game. Why would I? I thought it was worth it. I wanted to support it, but that's also a much smaller investment than buying a $60 game
outright.
and then
And then
having
a few
this
bucks for
on
subs
top
if
of it.
you wanted to get the individual subs.
Right.
It's also lessened a bit in that it was ideally a 4-on-4 match, not all duels.
Right. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't
had free to play
like it in
players running
Nintendo.
around.
What was that?
Like, could you imagine if Splatoon had free to play players running around?
Yeah. Well, everybody's free to play right now. But yeah, it would suck if they added a demo or something where you could play 5 matches a day for free. You just could never upgrade your gear or
get good
or draw pictures. Yeah,
Get good. Yeah.
you could only play the online turf war, and
You got a splatter shot with 2/3 range, and that's all you got for
Right.
weapons.
Your ink tank was only half of the normal capacity. Yeah, I hope Nintendo stays pure on this. It seems like, like with their online price being so much lower, they're at least easing into it. But I refuse to believe, as a good game manufacturer, that you need this to survive. Like, if you're making good quality games, they're gonna sell, and you can't do it in a way that's sustainable by just selling a lot because you made a good game, then you're doing something wrong. I know the price of games has gone up because they're spending millions of dollars, but they're also spending millions of dollars because they've got teams of hundreds of people because they're trying to crap the game out as quick as they can.
But then something like, PUBG comes along, or these others,
even Rocket League,
or Minecraft is one dude, right? Or Rocket League, and it's like they're making money hand over fist, and they don't like companies like EA that they really. Every company has its own vibe, and sometimes those change from time to time. Like Nintendo now is much more of a marketing focused company and much less of a customer focused company than it used to be. But EA has never been a customer focused. EA has always been 100% about how can we squeeze as many dollars out of the player base as humanly possible with each release.
I mean, but the slimiest thing they used to do is just release the same game every year with a different number at the end of it.
They were notorious for that. Yeah, they were notorious for releasing. For years, they would release a Madden game for full price, and the only difference would be the roster. And people would complain about this, and they're like, "So you want the new roster, don't you?" Then they started putting them out for like that was the first time I remember like a full retail game coming out for like $30 because that's what they started doing for They started putting them out cheap every year.
Yeah.
Wasn't that for trade-ins at first? Like you could get.
Oh, maybe. I think you might
trade in last year's version and get this year's version for whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like you want to create your own character. Well, you can pay money to get super EA points that you use to put into their stats, or maybe they should put a little random loot box in there to get alternate uniforms for your players.
Just play the mobile game if you have any doubts of EA and Madden and this type of thing. Just play the mobile game. It's terrible.
Yeah. Hopefully Nintendo doesn't go down that path.
I hope not.
But yeah, it seems like they're dipping their toe. But also, I feel like Nintendo is somebody that when they see these other companies getting crap over it, they're not gonna. As much as we've questioned their judgment, when they see public backlash on something, they're definitely not dropping into that. There was enough unsteady public opinion on VR that they haven't gone anywhere near that since the Virtual Boy. So I think they'll stay away.
Part of it is when something burns them, they're really
Yeah.
obsessive about it. Like the cartridge thing. Like
Oh, speaking
they got
of which,
they got burned by the Famicom disk system with people pirating games, and they have
Yeah.
been obsessively paranoid game piracy ever since. I mean, that's partially the argument for the N64 and other stuff and the mini discs and whatever. So I could see they have that thing in them, like that weird
yeah.
can't let something go kind of thing. So I think that's part of the VR deal as well. They just don't. Burned them once, they never want to deal with it again.
We talked earlier about the console wars, and now with loot boxes, we're kind of talking about companies policing themselves. And the last big policing themselves they did was the ESRB. And Night Trap is coming to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which former president of Nintendo, Howard Johnson, had said famously during the little trials that Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo system.
Mm-hmm.
And when it launched, or their remastered version last year, they were like, it's going to be out for every system except Nintendo Switch. So I don't know, something you said just reminded me of that. But
that's like one of
loot
those
boxes in that game.
That's one of those things that it's like people they're just trying to cash in on the fact that people have heard of it.
Yeah,
but I've never heard from anywhere that it wasn't anything but just a terrible. Like I remember those full motion video games.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were a joke. They were awful.
There's another one coming to Switch in the next week or so.
Yeah, then it's and I don't know what I don't remember what the other one is, but in the old days, and there's been one or two exceptions, like that Her Story is supposed to be very good.
Yeah.
But I remember those, and what they were just poorly acted, very low budget movies that you had to click through.
But it was novel at the time, like 25 years ago or whatever. Night Trap was a video game with video in it. Like we're like being like thinking it looked cool in NBA Jam during halftime when they had like little pixelated Scottie Pippen dunking.
Yeah, no, totally. It was amazing.
It was a novel thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just because it was novel. It's otherwise
right.
Like people will look at this and go. I mean, again, they'll probably sell some to people who, oh, this is that game that everyone said,
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just a useless piece of junk. I hope I'm not offending anybody on our illustrious podcast here. I don't think anybody's excited to check this out, right?
No.
You are disrespecting Dana Plato's memory.
Was she in it?
Yeah.
I forgot that completely. Poor girl.
See, change your tone right there. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll get a few curious purchases. Price point as always will be the thing, but it was really the big game that was the Hitler of video games that brought about the ESRB. That was the one that somehow stuck out amongst the Nintendo had Mortal Kombat and Genesis had Mortal Kombat, but Sega has this Night Trap game and it's an abomination. This is why games need ratings, and Nintendo is so clean and pure.
Well, it was because, again, it was, if you were over the age of 14, video game consoles, you were not the target market.
Right.
And they were trying to appeal to teenagers at that point because they knew that some of the Nintendo players had grown up. And I think
there's a few sequences where like somebody breaks into the house and is like dragging girls by their hair, and people are saying, oh, it objectifies women. But if you can re-release that game in today's political climate without people getting upset again, it probably wasn't that bad.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. To me, it's a period of video game history best left forgotten. That early full motion video crap, whatever it is, you can probably find a play.
Watch a YouTube video on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Which really, that's solid advice for any game you're considering purchasing.
But yeah, especially one of these. I mean, I imagine there's literally it can't be much more than a next button for most of it. There's
Yeah.
probably a couple alternate scenes or something, but it's like, yeah, no, it was just everybody at the time was like, oh God, now video games can have actual movie video in them. We need to rate them like movies. Yeah.
That's all I
Yeah.
had. I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, it's worth noting. It's Nintendo history.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Speaking
non-Nintendo history as it stands, but
Yeah.
soon to be Nintendo history. Speaking of history, before we close out tonight, this is a bit of a celebratory week for us. This is episode 51 officially, but we do have episode 0, so this is official episode 52 as far as the numbers go, and we've been on air for 1 year now.
Woo!
All right.
We made it. It's a benchmark.
You guys expect to be here back when we started?
I don't know. I think it's we haven't missed a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most podcasts can't say that they've done it every single week consistently without skipping.
I think Jason's the only one who has never ever
Missed
a week, if I'm not mistaken.
Mo, have you missed a week before?
I don't know if I did. I may have
did.
missed one. Maybe.
You were traveling one week, and you
Oh, that's
missed
right.
that one. I do remember that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I think I slept through one time. I think I joined for like the first 5 minutes and then fell asleep. There's probably another one I missed somewhere.
Other than that, we're pretty good. We made it.
Yeah, we've made it. So
If you've listened to all 52 episodes of
I feel
Thank
sorry
you.
for you.
yeah, thank you.
yeah,
Of course.
and let us know at NOA.
My apologies.
I think we've done a lot to improve the podcast. I think we've got better and brought things
I hope
together
so.
more. I hope
I
it is.
haven't gone back and listened to the early ones to see if it's any better or not. It's we've stuck to the same themes pretty much.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what's wrong with Nintendo, and to some degree the gaming world in general.
But mostly Nintendo.
Yeah,
Mostly.
Yeah.
And in
We'll never be-
particular, Splatoon.
When Nintendo gets everything right, we can finally stop doing this.
So we've got a very long future ahead of us.
Yeah, it might be a while, but I mean we pretty much started right after the Switch launch, so it's
Yeah.
it's been an interesting time period for Nintendo to kind of document.
Yeah. For those
Not
of
that-
you,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for those of you that don't know our origin story, we basically started out talking about the Switch back in January. Prior to the presentation, we just kind of got together and said, let's all talk about this, big reveal as it happens. And then it was really Mo's idea. It's like, we could do a podcast out of this pretty easy. So we did.
Yeah. Well, it just seemed like we've all been kind of friends through different ways, and more people kind of keep getting added to the fold. But most of us, you guys, you, Jason and Max, knew each other pre-Miiverse.
Yep.
You guys have probably known each other the longest, and then I met everybody else pretty much through Miiverse or Z through Sub Wars. I mean,
With Sub Wars
really
was
know him.
pre-Miiverse, wasn't it?
I knew his name. No, it was out. Miiverse was out, I think, when Sub Wars came out, but I didn't look for you. Jason found me, and he had already found you somehow.
I found you guys at the same time. It's just like, we'll see. I think I may have sent one message and responded. And it's like, I guess I could send another one. You guys were like celebrities to me. It's like,
I never thought about hunting down people that I played with on Miiverse. I never thought about like searching for their names. But it just so happened, and then Splatoon happened.
Yeah, and then when I found out there was this whole group of people on Miiverse from Sub Wars, that was completely that was a revelation to me. I was like, what? You found these people?
And that's kind of what made Miiverse interesting. I'm sure other people have had those moments where they had met people. I'm sure Animal Crossing probably grew a lot through people. I know there's been tons of people that used to message me on Animal Crossing and be like, hey, add me as a friend. It's like, no.
Who's this weirdo Momo, and why does he keep telling me to play Sub Wars again?
Yeah. We're gonna get Max in one of these nights. We're gonna all
To
hop
Subwars?
back in.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
just have to try playing it.
Get Max to give it a shot. But yeah, it's so we've all come together. We've made the move from Miiverse to Google Hangouts now.
Can't you play the single player? How much of the single player can you play of Subwars?
You can play 2 missions.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
But I think you can make like rooms in it. It's like we could all play. We could all join a room and play. I think that's available to the free players. This E3 though, when they finally drop Subwars for Switch, that's when it's all gonna happen.
I would be all over that.
I think if that happened, we would dedicate a podcast to that.
The Subwars special.
I think the free version has local play for rooms and stuff, but I don't think you can do online friend battles.
I don't know. I could download it on my daughter's 2DS and get back to you guys.
I remember when it first launched, I had a buddy of mine and I, we would sit in the same room. We both had the free one and we were, able to just hop in and play. And most of the time, I got in the same room.
I got a little nostalgic the other day and was looking on YouTube for Subwars like reviews just to see like did anybody talk about it or think. And I found one with Josh from the BitBlock, and somebody on somebody else's channel, and they were just sitting next to each other on a couch playing 1v1 with each other. And I was like, yeah, it was such a good game back then. But yeah, and I met everybody through Miiverse and really through Jason. He's kind of the guy that gets people together.
He's the social hub. He is the organizer.
And
he runs the podcast.
And the chief of the podcast, yeah. If it wasn't for Jason, we wouldn't have recorded any episodes because he knows how to make it work.
Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
Oh, thanks.
We do.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of working on the podcast, we do have a little surprise for you this week. As hopefully you have already heard, and will soon be hearing again. We've added a opening and closing sequence. So, hope you guys enjoy it, and if you like it, let us know. Yeah, something we wanted to do. Yeah, it's getting fancy. If you've been listening for a while and think we've changed or like how things have gone, or just say, man, you guys are still weird, let us know. Hit us up. Tell us.
Yeah, we know.
We know we're weird, but we love it. So I guess once again, time to close out. Close out on the first year. So thanks for watching, and glad you're listening. And you can always check us out on right here on YouTube where we record, on Stitcher, iTunes, and you can hit us up on Twitter, of course, at NOA Podcast. So next time, see you.
Happy birthday, podcast.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Party on.
Congratulations and have a good night.
Thanks.